Hey, welcome, Adam Dick, to 100% Humboldt.
Thanks for having me.
It's great.
Exciting to be here.
We're excited to have you, man. We're big fans around here, and just want to learn more about you, the company, your journey, your family, and so what? Let's just start there. How'd you get to Humboldt? What's your Humboldt story?
Let's see. So, where do we start? Way back. I mean, it really starts prior.
At the beginning.
Yeah, in the beginning. Yeah. When I went to, my parents divorced when I was really young, and I moved kind of all around with my mom. And she has family in the Midwest in Kansas City. So after I graduated grade school, we moved back to be with her family in Kansas City. And I went into middle school and high school there. And when I was getting close to graduating, I knew that I didn't want to go to school in Kansas or in the Midwest.
Right.
I wanted to be out of that area. And
Snow or barbecue?
yeah. I mean, I was born in California. I was born in Lake Tahoe.
All right.
And went to grade school in Southern California in Orange County. So I'm like, I feel like I'm from California,
So KC would be a shock in every.
Yeah. I mean, I liked going to high school there. There's something nice and a little bit more leisurely about that Midwestern pace of life.
Oh yeah.
So I liked that. I mean, I liked being around all my mom's brothers and sisters, and then that whole cousin thing was really, really great. But when it came to go to college, I wanted to come back out to California, and my dad always lived in California, so I could get in-state tuition. That was also
that's cool.
Really important
Benefit.
Yep. And the only school I ever applied to for college was Humboldt State University.
You too?
I had no backups.
Did you get in?
I did, but ironically, it took them forever to get me the information.
So funny.
Anyway, so I wanted somewhere. I didn't want to live in LA. I didn't want to live in a big city. I wanted somewhere remote and unique, and I was going to be, I thought I wanted to be a forestry major. I had this dream that I was going to be a park ranger. And I don't know why in my mind I thought that a park ranger needed a degree in forestry, but that's where I started.
So funny.
It lasted a semester, and then I transferred to the recreation program and got a degree in recreation administration.
This is so weird for me to I almost stopped the show. Don't stop the show. So same story from San Diego.
Oh, really?
I wanted to be a forest ranger, me and my friend Philip, and we were going to be driving around in four-wheel drive and smoking weed and be those guys. And I thought, hey, I'll be a forestry major. Humboldt. Oh.
Right.
Founded on microfiche. Do you remember that stuff? Yeah. At a career center in National City where we're from. And came up here. And immediately went into recreation administration. Weird parallel.
Wait, you have a degree in rec?
Yeah, at Humboldt. Before Chip.
Really?
The guy right before, Chip is your guy, right?
Oh, yeah. And Greg Simmons, I think. Yeah.
Right. Nice guys.
Yep.
And they were right after a guy named Bob St. Peters who forged his credentials and found his way selling yachts in Florida. Weird.
Wow.
Weird journey.
I didn't realize you. Yeah, and the funny, if you want to take it even weirder, Dustin is also a rec major.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. The Dick Taylor, the Taylor part of. Yeah, that's funny.
The Dick part and the Taylor part of both.
Were you guys same class?
No, he's 2 years, I think, behind me.
Okay.
Yep. So,
is that a dig at Dustin?
That he?
Wait.
He's 2 years behind.
I'm a little ahead.
No, I'm actually a little jealous of Dustin these days because he seems to move around a little more spryly than I do.
He's got some spring.
Yeah, I'm like, that 2 years makes a big difference. It might be 3 actually, but anyway, he'll catch up one of these days, and then I'll say, I told you so.
The DNA catches us. So you wound up at Humboldt, got your degree. Mm-hmm. Did you meet your wife there?
No. Another story. So when there's so many stories.
There's all stories.
So when I was a junior in high school, I had found myself on the wrong side of the law. Well, playing a little too much in high school. So that was my junior year. So the summer after my junior year, my parents shipped me out to Lake Tahoe. They had a house there. My dad always did. Mm-hmm. To get a job, be away from my bad influence friends in Kansas City, and hopefully get my life, straightened out again.
Kansas City gangster people, yeah.
So spent the summer, basically trying to find a job. It was very difficult because all the local high school kids had already snatched up all the high school jobs. So I did like a few odd things, but towards the end of the summer, I got invited on a backpack trip with some other local high school kids. I had made a friend of, common friend. And my wife, Deanna, was on that trip.
Wow.
And so we kind of met and kindled a little romance at the end of that summer of our junior year. And then I went back to Kansas City and we did the whole long distance thing. And she applied to Humboldt State as well as her financial backup. She was going to go to some other private schools. So she ended up going to Humboldt too. And it wasn't that we had, planned it, but it was certainly a definite benefit that we would be both at the same place.
What do they call that? It's not coincidence, providence.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Either way.
So then we, went to college together, both graduated, and we're kind of a little bit on and off again, but eventually got married.
Nice. And you guys have 4 daughters?
3.
3 beautiful daughters. Nice. Yeah. Because I remember our homeschool kids ran with your daughters at Sequoia Park here in Eureka, which is right about over here on the map as you see Sequoia Park. Anyway. The
odd part is our oldest daughter is now the same age as when I met my wife. That part's tripping me out right now.
Yeah, you got to deal with that.
Yeah.
That's
something to think about.
Yeah. Yeah, we were married I was 21 and she was 20.
Oh, wow.
At Humboldt. And I was being a senior in recreation and got a job Trinidad rec program for $5 an hour. I was making bank, man.
Yeah, right.
Taking the bus. This guy living in a Victorian upstairs in arcade at the Esther Homes. Remember? Charles McCann.
Yep.
The McCann home.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, back in the day. They called it the honeymoon suite, $250 a month.
Wow.
No first or last, and it worked out great. We rec stuff. And then anyway, 9 kids later, that's my story, your journey. So who were you at 15? What were you all about? Were you in KC then?
Yeah, I was, gosh, this is where it starts to get my inner underbelly. But I was just like in high school, I was very, I'm just like kind of a socially shy, awkward person. Not really outgoing or gregarious, don't make friends like super easily. So high school was not my favorite time. Pretty happy, when that was over. I think it was hard. I moved from somebody already who was like a little bit not socially as strong as others, moving from Southern California to Kansas City, where the only person that I knew was my, cousin James, and he's my same age. And we were really good friends, but it was just one of those things. Like I just always felt like I was on the outside.
The other guy.
Yeah. Like, I mean, my cousin did a great job of assimilating me into his group of friends, but they have a lifetime together,
right?
Going to grade school and all this. And I'm here, kind of on the side. So yeah, high school was, wasn't really like the most amazing time for me.
Sure.
And, I kind of got into, succumbed to a lot of peer pressure and things like that, just trying to find a way that I could connect with people.
Right.
But, when I came out to Humboldt State, though, it was an entirely different story.
Yeah.
I felt like all of a sudden I could be who I wanted to be. Everybody came to Humboldt State. Nobody had previous friends. It was a blank slate for everybody.
That's a great point. It's a fresh start.
Yeah, it's a fresh start, and it was like I just found my like rhythm and my stride, and I loved college and all of that.
That's cool.
Scene was so fun.
I think shout out to all the homeschoolers, all the high schoolers who are we romanticize that, and it's high school is a weird time.
It is, yeah.
And it's like you're finding your voice and your life, but college, you come to Humboldt, hey, you can bike and backpack and.
Right.
And there's people in the rec program that small enough department, you could get to know people.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It's not, it's low key.
And Humboldt State in general or Cal Poly Humboldt, I guess it is now, is a pretty small, very welcoming, really friendly campus.
Another hard stop. Cal Poly Humboldt is the new Humboldt State.
Yeah. We will probably refer to it as Humboldt State regularly.
Everybody has.
Throughout this podcast.
Everybody on the podcast. Oh, yeah, I went to Humboldt State.
Yeah.
You went to where?
Yeah, we're old timers here.
Yeah. It used to be Humboldt College.
Right. It was a teacher's school.
Yeah. Yeah. They did a thing on TV the other day. It was really interesting. So who were you at 20? You were at Humboldt then having a good time?
Yeah. Let's see. 20. I'm trying to think. I think that would have been my junior year, I think.
Did you work?
I worked in the summers. I was actually quite fortunate to have parents that were able to kind of support me through college. I didn't have to work. I did work in the summer times. A couple summers I went back to Tahoe and worked, and then I worked one summer in the receiving department at Pearson's Building Center.
Sweet.
And did a few summers doing construction and carpentry and that kind of stuff. But I think in my junior year, if I've got my dates right, I was actually really fortunate to do this program called Semester at Sea. Have you heard of it before? It's through the University of Pittsburgh now, and it used to be through Chapman College, somewhere I think in Southern California. But it's called the Institute for Shipboard Education, and they have a big cruise ship, and you spend a semester on that cruise ship.
Wow.
Traveling all around the world.
Wow.
And my stepmother had done it when she was in college, and fortunately I had a grandmother that was willing to like foot that bill. And so it was a really, really neat experience. I guess at 20, that was a pretty
Cruise ship.
formative thing. We started, let's see, I'll give you a quick overview. We started in Vancouver, British Columbia, and then went over to Kobe, Japan, Shanghai, China, Hong Kong, Vietnam. Then we went all the way around to India, went to Egypt, Cyprus, Greece, Spain, Morocco, and then back to Florida.
Wow.
And all the way around the world.
Did you get off board every time? Did you go do the stuff?
Yeah. So when you were on the boat, you had actual college class schedules. You had like an A schedule and a B schedule. And then in port, all the classes had a certain amount of port assignments that you had to accomplish.
Wow.
So it wasn't like you had an assignment in every port, but everywhere you stopped, usually you had to do something for one of the classes. And
Gotcha.
it was, really neat experience. It was, it was short. It was the most we ever stayed in one place was like 5 or 6 days, I think. So
That's a long time in port, actually.
it is, yeah. But I've kind of felt like you just got a little bit of a
Yeah.
snippet of a country, and then it was basically to decide if you wanted to go back there again. But,
Yeah, we went to Ireland and Scotland and England last summer, and you get a day in port. Right?
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, just enough to kind of like wet your whistle.
I want to go back to Edinburgh for a week. Just
Right.
Edinburgh's cool, man. It's just Scotland's so bomb. So how many months was that at sea?
It was a whole semester, so 3 or 4 months, I think.
Man, what a great opportunity.
Yeah, it was really.
Okay. Did you have to work on the ship too? Did they make you
No.
serve or?
No. It
Yeah.
was.
Because there's a whole crew. Those guys.
Yeah, there's a huge crew. I mean, I think there was 600 crew members, something like that. I mean, it's quite extensive.
No, they get off and go play. They go nuts.
Yeah.
At least that's what I saw. These guys are all over the world. Really nice.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was neat. It was really neat.
So you came back to Humboldt after that and finished up?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Did you graduate?
I did. Yeah, I graduated in 2000 with a degree in recreation administration and a
Nice.
business minor.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so how did that translate into your building career, your early building career? And
Yeah, I mean, I guess I wouldn't say it transferred really. I mean, other than I got a lot of I learned how to be responsible. I feel like college,
Sure.
to a large degree, first time you've lived alone, the first time you've had to, your parents aren't really telling you to get schoolwork done. I mean, you got to be motivated intrinsically, So
laundry. There's dishes.
Exactly. But I think, Dustin and I, or myself, I guess, I really like working with my hands. I like making things. I'm really interested in how things are made, and always fascinated with traditional ways of doing things, and I think that's why, when we started doing carpentry, but what we really liked was, doing architectural millwork and finding, replicating or duplicating old casework and things like that. And so, that's I think what's been always like a driving force is that. So I think that's kind of why we ended up in doing carpentry was because it scratched that itch, paid really well. In Humboldt County, it was a great pay, and it's fairly flexible.
I was just say, unlike recreation.
Yeah,
$5 an hour, folks.
right. But I liked carpentry because it was like you work 3 days, 4 days. It just was very easy to and to say, okay, I'm not going to be here for a week or a couple days, and so it allowed us to recreate and have like a real flexible
And be flexible.
yeah. And it was fun and interesting. And
So you guys hung out immediately after college, after he graduated too?
yeah, I mean, we knew
had
each
a
other.
partnership and a friendship?
Yeah, I mean, we were friends before
Wow.
that. I mean, mainly through church and things like that. But I think what we had even before the carpentry thing was really we liked music. We had a very common bond in music.
That's great.
And
yeah.
so that's probably initially what brought us together. And then I think there was just like, Dustin's dad was the county carpenter. My dad's a contractor in LA. So we both were kind of raised around that. So it
Right.
seemed kind of easy to.
Yeah. Was there industrial science at Humboldt? Was that gone? Industrial arts program?
I don't even know.
I think it was gone by the time you got there.
Really?
Yeah. It was a pretty big program for a long time. It's one of those they whacked, but anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember Dustin when Steve and Lori and everybody got here from Hawaii.
Yeah.
100 years ago. Known those guys a long time. So 25, what's happening now? You're graduated? You've got a budding business. Are you married at 25?
I think I don't know, maybe it was 26 or 27 that we got married. I had, by this time I had graduated from college, from Humboldt State. I didn't get a rec job like right out of the gate. I did apply. I applied at, I just got a random interview through a friend at Point Loma.
Same journey. No. Yeah.
They were looking for, like a resident recreation director. So I was like, it seemed like a great fit.
City of Point Loma.
No, the university or the private Christian
NAS,
school.
yeah.
So I thought, okay, we'll give it a shot. So I interviewed. I mean, arguably, it was probably quite a long shot, about that. But so anyway, I didn't get that job. And so I moved home back to Lake Tahoe. My parents still had the house there. And I just decided like, you know what, I'm just going to, I've been going to school continuously. I didn't take a gap year or anything. So I'm like, I'm just going to like ski bum for, a winter or two.
Why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Had a cheap place to stay. And so that's basically what I did for a couple years. I never like lift opt or anything like that, which is kind of ironic. But I did get a job. First job I worked after college I was the receiving manager for Swigard's True Value Hardware in Tahoe City, California.
Sweet. Because why not?
Because why not? Yeah, I mean, it was, it paid the bills and they were going to hire me. So that was great. So I did that, but it was one of those things. It provided me a paycheck, but it was not that interesting. I really didn't love that job.
Sure. Well, people work to ski there, right? I mean,
yeah, right. So I can't remember how many months I worked at, but eventually I quit that job and I got a job working at the Rubicon Deli.
Nice.
And it was a little deli inside this place called the Tahoe Tree Company. It was like a nursery, in Tahoe City. And the owner's name was Cherie Corselia. And it was the first like food job I'd ever had. I liked to eat. I always have. I liked cooking, So I got a job at this little deli and it was a hopping place. I mean, every morning we baked all the bread fresh, prepped all the ingredients. And then, when lunchtime would hit, there was just like this.
Is it still there, Rubicon?
I don't think that it is. I think that Cherie is in Reno, maybe, or Chico. I can't remember. She had a son that was helping out with the business too. But anyway, just made delicious sandwiches. Nice. And her, her love of food and her just like, she was so cool. And so I loved that job. So I worked at the Rubicon Deli during the day. And then a few nights a week, I would deliver pizzas at this place called Jiffy's Pizza, this total like dive, ratty pizza place. But it was, it was at night and it was tips and it was great. So I loved those jobs. I loved delivering pizzas, was so great. Just chill.
Drive around.
Yep. Just drive around,
Yeah.
Nobody,
beautiful night. Tahoe.
Yeah. Nobody like hounding you for anything. So anyway, I really liked that.
And no one complains because it's Jiffy's Pizza, and you're gonna just get a basic pizza.
Right?
They're not gonna get mad because it wasn't round table.
Exactly. So did that, and then got in. I did that I was home for 2 years, and then after that I got involved with a Christian missions organization called Youth of the Mission.
Sure.
And they have like a kind of an entry level, kind of missions training school that I did. It's like a semester long thing. And
was it the one in Hawaii?
It wasn't in Hawaii. The school that I did was in Victoria, British Columbia.
Very nice.
So we did that and worked with some different, Christian like snowboarding and skate groups. It was mostly like a board riders type thing. And so we did that. And when I was done with that, that's when I moved back up to Humboldt and I've been here pretty much since then.
Nice.
Kind of thought I was going to stay with that, missions group, but we really kind of, the carpentry thing
Yeah.
took over again.
Is it okay to ask about how you and your wife finally made full circle? And it was such a cute story when we heard it in Blue Lake last year.
Oh, I don't know if we got enough time left on the podcast.
Yeah,
but
no. You have 10 seconds. No,
Yeah.
no, you guys. So she had been overseas, right? As
yeah,
well,
so
doing
she
stuff.
right. So we kind of dated mostly on, but a little bit off through college.
Mm-hmm.
By the time we graduated, we were not together. But she went overseas and she started doing midwifery work. She got trained as a midwife overseas, and she did a bunch of midwifery
Wow.
work in Nepal, in Nigeria.
Does she still do that?
She's not doing much with midwifery currently. She does, occasionally, but she got her training overseas, and she worked as a midwife overseas for about 2 years, and then she came back to the States, and we were like, well, either we were going to get married, because we had kind of been talking throughout this time, and so sure enough, she decided to marry me, and
Nice.
yeah,
Hey, way to marry up, just like me.
exactly.
A lot of parallels here.
Yeah, so it took from the time that we met, the summer of our junior year in high school, till the time we got married was about 10 years.
Wow,
So
that's a long courtship.
it was, yeah. I felt like I knew her pretty well by the time that we got married.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah, which does help, because marriage it's not always easy.
No, it's work.
It
can
is.
be.
It's for sure work, and if you want it to last and you want it to be, successful, then that takes a lot of work.
It does. It's communication. I want to drop in a real pithy quote right now, but I really can't think of one. But you think of one out there. So tell us about your current job. What do you do? What's your title? What's your besides performer, and we know we'll get there. But tell me about Tell me about the Dick Taylor journey. I saw you on Mike Rowe.
Yeah.
What a great guy he is.
Yeah. The Dick Taylor journey has been, really what's, consumed my life for the past 13 years now.
Right. So the building thing makes segue into Almquist Lumber in some way, I'm sure.
Yeah.
'Cause he was provider of materials and then provider of space.
Rental space. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we had been doing carpentry, for about 12 years, and we had restored some wood boats, did a lot of architectural mill work, and built a lot of cabinets and furniture. And so that was just, we were kind of on that clip, and, typical in Humboldt County, we'd work part-time for cash, doing little side jobs, and occasionally we'd bounce around from contractor to contractor. And,
Sure.
I think that Dustin and I, or at least I always saw myself as a crafts person, a craftsman. The word contractor to me was like, I don't know, somehow like a derogatory word.
Builder contractor.
Yeah, 'cause it didn't seem to capture who Dustin and I were.
Right.
At the core. We felt like carpenters and not contractors. But as you now start to have young families, and you're thinking like, is this my career path for the rest of my life?
Sustainable, yeah.
And if it is, which is fine, then we probably should, take the leap and get our contractor's license, and like do a real business. We're like 30s now, and it's like time.
It's go time.
Yeah. Let's be adults finally. So, I think that we were ready to shift something up, and it seemed like at the time we were just going to shift deeper into doing carpentry. And a friend of Dustin's, who's a video guy, local videographer, passed him this video of these brothers that make chocolate in Brooklyn. It was like a little YouTube thing, very innocent. His friend liked it because the cinematography was really cool, and these two guys were sailors, and so he's like, you guys will probably get a kick out of this. That was, I think, his intent.
Yeah.
We saw it and thought, whoa, this is really cool. Like I had never
Epiphany time.
I never thought, like, where does chocolate come from?
Yeah.
Who knows? Even, at the time, who knew?
Pennsylvania.
Right, exactly. Just like it's just there at the grocery store.
It's just there at Safeway.
Right, who cares where it comes from? So to see the process, from these like rough, dirty, dusty cocoa beans, and then series of steps or whatever, it comes out as these like beautiful chocolate bars.
Right,
I'm thinking this is really, really neat. And so that kind of got the wheels turning, and I think that it wasn't like we had this like hatched business plan instantly. It was more of this curiosity, like, could I homebrew a chocolate bar?
Right.
I mean, when, I've built violins before, I could buy a violin or I could make a violin. You make the violin and you learn along the way all that goes into it. And you're probably going to make a violin that doesn't sound very good.
Right.
And you have to be okay with that.
Right.
Getting into the process. But going through all those steps really helps you to understand and connect with the finished product a lot. So I was like, let's homebrew some chocolate bars. Why not?
Let's do
Could
this.
we do this? So, we looked around online and found there's a place in Eugene called Chocolate Alchemy. You can buy cocoa beans from around the world by the pound.
Okay.
And they got a little blog that tells you, how to make it, and a few user forums. And then they also sell some countertop size grinding equipment to, make a chocolate bar on your countertop. So we got some simple stuff and started experimenting and
Making stuff.
making chocolate. And I mean, it was awful. It was, what do you expect? You've never made any before. You're probably not going to
be that great.
Nail it first time.
That first batch of beer is not that great.
Right. Exactly. So, so it wasn't great, but it was very different than, it didn't taste like a Hershey bar. It didn't taste like anything that really you could buy in the grocery store. I mean, it didn't have vanilla in it for one, which is a huge, flavor enhancer or adulterant, depending on which way you look at it in most chocolate bars. So it had no vanilla, and it was really fruity flavored or floral flavored. I mean, it was like the chocolate was alive.
It had something else.
Yeah, it had something else. So I think that was interesting, and that kept us, home brewing. And
so you continued to do that while you built, and then
yeah, I mean,
approached Eric at some point.
Yeah, I mean, you have eventually you've got, we're making so much of it that you're giving it to friends, and and somebody's like, you guys should sell this stuff. It's
Sell it.
Yeah, why don't you sell it? And so then we're like, yeah, well, let's sell this. And so that's when we got started doing a little market research and finding out what was going on at the time. And when we started in 2010, there was maybe 20 chocolate manufacturers in the United States. Period.
Wow.
That's
big and little.
Yeah, big and little. I mean, that's not you're not even at one per state. You're not even at one at half the states at that point.
Opportunities right there. Yeah.
So at the time there was probably about 5 maybe craft chocolate makers, people that had started about 3 or 4 years before us and kind of had these little fledgling craft chocolate businesses. And the rest were the large scale manufacturers.
Right.
So imagine if there was think about the beer industry now.
Right.
Craft breweries, there's hundreds and hundreds and thousands of them. Imagine a time when it was Sierra Nevada
Was it?
and Budweiser,
And Deschutes.
yeah, and like that. So it was, we were like, okay, so there's not many of these
Right.
craft makers. There's probably some market share to be
And then it went.
gained.
And then the beer thing certainly blew up.
Yeah, and the third wave, coffee's gone kind of that same
Right.
way. So we felt like there was, market share, and then of course it's well, where do we need a commercial kitchen and all yada yada yada, and then like you said, we were going out to Almquist all the time for our materials for making all of our projects.
He probably knew you, loved you.
Yeah, so we walked past in the front of the Almquist building. There's a little cafe that had been vacant for years, and so we're like, well, it's vacant. Maybe Eric would give us a deal on it. So we talked to Eric Almquist and said, hey, how much for the space up there? And he gave it to us for a song, including utilities, and
Because that's who he is.
yeah, he's a great guy, and
he's a mentor kind of a guy.
yeah, and he believed in us, I guess. I don't know why.
Sure.
But Dustin and I
not?
had figured out, we on the back of a napkin. Well, okay, the rent there, I think it was, I don't know, it was maybe $300 a month or something, $350.
Yeah.
And utilities included.
It was a gift.
It was a gift. Yeah. But even at that, we were looking at in order to just cover the rent, not pay ourselves, but just pay the rent. We needed to sell. I can't remember. It was 25 chocolate bars a week.
Wow.
And I'd never sold any. So it seemed like just this crushing. I think to myself, how am I?
The numbers didn't
Yeah, how am I going to sell?
encourage you.
Yeah, I was not stoked with that.
100 a month.
Yeah, this is nuts. How am I going to make that and sell it? But we kind of believed that we could, or I figured,
Right.
well, a couple months of this, if we don't make any money, it's only $600. Dustin and I'll split that rent each, and then we'll fold the
Yeah.
business up.
Yeah. Good business plan.
Yeah.
A lot of hope in that
Yeah,
one.
a lot of. Dustin and I have always had many. We like to keep a lot of off ramps all the time.
Plan B, guys.
There's always a plan B.
C and D.
Yeah, very strong plan B always.
Yeah.
So, we were like, okay, well, let's give it a shot. And we were making chocolate on Mondays and then doing carpentry every other day, Tuesday through Friday.
The day job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, we'd go online to our like competitors and find their like retailer list.
Sure.
Because everybody's talking about where they're selling their chocolate so that the customers can find it. So we're
Reach
like,
out to
oh,
them.
sweet. Look at all these accounts. So then we
Jeez.
started contacting those accounts, sending them samples and like
Sure.
just guerrilla marketing. And,
Want to try this?
yeah.
It's free.
And sure enough, you pick up, like in Portland, there's a chocolate shop called The Meadow. And, if you can get your stuff on the shelf in The Meadow,
You're
then
huge.
Yeah, then all the other stores are looking to The Meadow for what's hot, what's the trend, what's coming
Right.
in. They like peruse at The Meadow. So
And then there's a big gap, and then there's Whole Foods,
yeah.
which would be so. Quick question: so, what's the top 3 things that happened to break? That were the breakaway things that sent you to a bigger volume. I know you've been recognized at the food shows and the chocolate shows.
Yeah, I mean, one thing early on that was very important, I guess, in some of our decision making. When we first started, wanting to have lots of Plan Bs and low input cost, we decided we would just use like an off the shelf mold, like something that was very standard, and we were wrapping it in these like Italian printed papers. Like our packaging didn't look anything like it does now, right? Very different, with just like anything we could grab off the shelf to make an elegant looking package. So we were selling our chocolate bars, and we had a little quasi like online website, that you could shop a few things. And
Yeah.
a chocolate blogger in, I think, New York, or she might have been in Michigan. I can't remember. But anyway, she bought a pretty famous or well-known chocolate blogger, picked up some of our bars and reviewed them.
Huh.
And, reamed us pretty good for lots of different things. But it really that was kind of the first point. This had only been maybe 5 months or so into it, that we realized, like, hey, there might be interest outside of Humboldt County for this stuff. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like
could be.
people are seeing it at a much wider audience. And so that was when we kind of felt like we should probably like redesign the mold and really try to do what we can to make this thing like
Presentation.
present well.
Yeah.
And so that's when we designed the mold and the wrapper design. And
I had a bar here. I was gonna.
I brought some.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay. Do you want to just really 30 seconds walk us through kind of what a bar looks? I'll hold one up and you can hold one up. Maybe the graphics and how,
Oh yeah. Here, you can take that one.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this is our 72% Belize.
Okay.
When we first started making chocolate, we just made plain single origin dark chocolate bars like this. 2 ingredients, just cocoa beans and cane sugar, which
Wow.
is very different than what you typically would find in like a mass-produced chocolate.
Sure.
So the formulation was pretty simple, really stripped down, and yeah. So this is kind of what we like hang our hats on, this kind of stuff. But we now have a whole line of bars where we add
The packaging is gorgeous. I mean, so you guys had all this done.
Yeah, all of the line work. So when we were doing all this packaging design and trying to kind of really brand ourselves and come up with a look, Dustin's brother Garrett at the time was an illustrator at Pixar.
Right.
And so it was really we loved Garrett's style. Garrett kind of he lived his whole life with Dustin, so he kind of really knew what drove Dustin.
Right.
So it was really easy. Everything Garrett drew were like perfect, sweet.
So
yes,
is it,
I love
all
this.
these his
They
illustrations?
are, yeah.
Wow.
And Garrett also designed the bar mold, so that kind of like fleur-de-lis, filigree
Right.
thing is also Garrett's design. But with the boat kind of motif, for us, we wanted something that told the story
Yeah.
of what was inside, without telling you like what was inside.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
When we were designing our packaging, almost all chocolate bar wrappers are brown or black.
With a butterfly or
Yep,
something.
and
that
they're
has-
most always glossy, so it has like a whole look. When you go to the grocery store, the chocolate bars have like a look.
Yeah.
Even though they're different brands,
Yeah.
So we were like, well, we don't want brown. We don't want glossy. Not that we wanted everything that was opposite of that. And so that was kind of where we ended up with a white.
I don't see any flowers on there.
Yeah, there's no flowers.
Yeah.
But I think for us, the image of the boat obviously kind of speaks a little bit to, who Dustin and I are, the
Culture.
things that we're really interested in. We're both sailors.
Certainly a Humboldt
Yeah, we both
maritime.
yeah,
thing,
exactly. And I think that as far as building a wooden boat, it's one of the more complicated woodworking projects, you could undertake.
Wow.
You've got, on a boat, you've got curves that are constantly changing throughout the length of the boat.
It's not a box.
Right. It's like you never rip a board at 12 degrees and expect it to, match up to the next one. The angle is constantly changing 12, 11, 10. Wow. And, so you're constantly having to cut these rolling bevels. It's all done by hand.
So the metaphor with that in chocolate
right, I'm like
building, if you will.
the amount of craftsmanship that goes into building a wood boat, a high degree. So we wanted it to speak to, inside craftsmanship. That was kind of our idea. But then, like you had said, a lot of the early lumber schooners that sailed timber up and down the West Coast were built on the Humboldt Bay, literally right across from where our factory is.
Isn't that funny? Yeah.
Yeah, and the Thayer that's down at Hyde Street and in San Francisco at the Maritime Park there, that was built right out there on Samoa, and it's still floating and sailing. So I think it gives us a sense of place, like you were saying. The tradition in Humboldt County of boat building and of that craftsmanship has been long-standing. That I don't think most people probably pick that little bit up, but it's definitely was something that we thought about a lot. How do we give it a sense of place?
Would you be offended if I popped this open?
No. I brought these
because I think that. So this is our favorite thing. This is our date night. Joni and I go up to Huda Point and have a whole thing. Nick, this is for you too. So we pop open the van. Here comes the Dick Taylor Chocolate Picnic, the music, bottle of red wine maybe, and then this happens. Oh, the wrapper. And I think it's really key. Can you zoom? Really? I think it's really key to see the packaging, but also to see what did you call it? It's not called the imprint.
Well, just the bar mold. We had the bar mold, designed. And that's what gives the bars, because the chocolate's obviously poured into the molds in a liquid state.
I would normally not break these open like this, but I think it's really key to see that. Can you see that imprint? The fleur de lis.
Yeah, we had told Garrett, who designed it, we said we kind of like Argyle socks. That was like his design, with some of his design inspiration, and then he came out with that, and it was just it was perfect.
That's nice.
And the funny thing is, we didn't have a lot of experience at the time, but typically when you design chocolate bar molds, the more detail that you have in the mold, the more difficult it is to get it to mold without air bubbles and
There's a lot of detail there.
Pockets and
may I?
Oh yeah.
Oh, and as when we did the tour a couple months, your very first tour, it was fun. It has the pop. Oops.
Yes,
it's a little softer.
And it's a milk chocolate, and it does have the hazelnuts in it. So
it wouldn't pop as much.
Yeah. Milk chocolate is always a lot softer because of the milk protein in there.
Yeah. I'm sitting there, my mouth's watering. I'm going, man, when do I get to pop into this thing?
Yeah, and the milk I brought that. Milk chocolate's kind of one of my favorite things now.
That's a great milk chocolate bar though. Yeah.
We use Alexander Family Farms. They're down in they have a farm in Crescent City, but also down in Ferndale, and they make A2 milk, which is it's a A2 is the way they describe the milk protein. Right. And it was kind of how I think the milk from cows traditionally was A2, and then we've through the years have bred for a different kind of milk protein that actually I think is harder to digest.
Huh.
So some people that have lactose problems can handle A2 milk no problem. Yeah. So that's the first thing that's cool. But what's amazing is they make that A2 milk into a whole milk powder.
Sweet.
Yeah, organic A2
Which
whole milk
plays
powder,
right into your.
which is exactly what we need for chocolate. So it's like it's the only kind in the world. They're the only ones doing it. It's so we feel so fortunate to have
locally
them
sourced.
Yeah,
drive over and get some.
Yep. And it's just delicious. It's like really, really amazing. The hazelnuts come from Oregon. The filbert, as we call it here, is the filbert. State. It's the state nut of Oregon.
Oh, they make the best.
But what's interesting in the chocolate industry, everybody's like the Italian hazelnuts, are the ones, whatever. But I'm like, I didn't want to import Italian hazelnuts, and I'm like, it's the state.
They're up in Eugene.
Like let's just get it there, So
funny.
Yeah, so we're much more Pacific Northwest.
French wine versus Napa Valley's Sonoma's got everything you need.
Sure.
Yeah. So walk us through a quick little timeline, if you would be willing to, from Almquist, some of the early breaks, the first location down on 4th, and then your new location and some of the because you markedly you've done this. I mean, you guys have turned some sort of a corner in terms of success, production,
Yeah.
joy,
Tiredness,
tired,
exhaustion.
sleeping a little.
Yeah, but let's see. So we were at Almquist for a total of about 5 years, I think.
Wow.
I think we did 2.5 years or 2 years where we were doing carpentry almost full time,
Mm-hmm.
and then we quit that. And Almquist was the place where we hired our first employees. We had our first marketing director, when we were there, but it was, we were still, pretty small.
Right.
But we kept acquiring equipment, and we also kept acquiring space there at Almquist. So we were, initially we were renting that little cafe space. Then we needed a place to store our beans and do some of the bean prep. So then we started renting the break room, the employee break room there at Almquist as well.
They loved you.
Yeah, they literally loved us. Then we needed even more space. And so we rented they have a conference room that was right above our production area. And so we rented that whole conference room. And so we were probably using up a total of 1,200 square feet maybe by the time we left Almquist.
I bet the rent went up from $350.
It did, but Eric still kept it. He was
What a guy.
Yeah, he was very good. Then we were feeling like we were needing a new spot. We were getting kind of tight. And it was about that time that we were approached by a guy named David Mulhern. Do you know Dave Mulhern?
Sure. Yep.
He was, he's a landlord, property owner in Eureka, and he had a property next to the co-op that had been vacant on 4th Street. And he was like, really want you guys in there. And we're like, Dave.
Can't afford it.
Yeah, I'm like,
wish we could.
I got 1,200 square feet here, and you want me to rent 7,000 square feet? Like,
not going to happen.
yeah, I'm not even selling that amount of chocolate a month to even pay, the rent. So he realized that he had, probably barked up the wrong tree. And so then he kind of let it go. And then he came back to us probably 6 or so months later. And he's like, I just really want you in the building. It's like, what's it going to take?
Awesome. Wow.
Yeah, it was really awesome. I mean, our landlords have saved our bacon over the years, if I would say.
Yeah.
And so, we're like, okay, he gave us, made us a deal that we couldn't refuse,
Right.
and we had, this whole arrangement to where we were going to have rent increases that would be tied to our sales increases, because he didn't want to put us out of business, but he wanted to get from what he was renting it to us to
What a great way to escalate, yeah.
Worth. But, he was kind, generous, flexible, and and he made it work. And I think Dustin and I were thinking, it's going to take us 5 years to get up to what you want your rent to be, and he knew different.
Yeah.
So it was I think it was maybe a year or maybe 2 years we were.
Because you just started producing.
Yeah, we started producing, and and it was going well, and it was kind of around that time. You had talked about the micro thing, and we were still at Almquist, right towards the end of our time there, and we got approached by, the micro.
Is it Discovery Network? Is
It was on CNN.
Oh, it's CNN. That's
he
right.
had a show on Discovery called Dirty Jobs.
His big one, yeah.
Yeah, and that ran for a bunch of years.
Sure.
Then I don't know the whole, everything that went on, but basically, long story short, he ended up at CNN with a similar themed show called Somebody's Gotta Do It.
Yeah.
And it was just about people doing unusual things that they enjoyed, and making a career out of it. So that was.
So they called you guys and said, hey, Mike wants to come out.
Yeah, actually, what happened was they called Cypress Grove.
Oh, that's funny.
Because they wanted to do, they wanted to do a thing there at Cypress Grove, and God bless the folks at Cypress Grove. They were like, who else you should go see while you're here is Dick Taylor. So
It had
instead
to be
of
Mary Keene at the time, right?
I don't know if it was Mary. We have some other friends in the marketing department there.
And so they pointed you guys out.
Yeah. So then the show kind of, instead of just being about, about Cypress Grove, we had a spot with Dennis Real from Los Bagels. He was kind of moonlight there.
Sure.
And so we recorded that out at Almquist, but by the time it aired, we were at the new building.
Oh.
So it was weird watching it in this time capsule, but that show gave us a real big boost for online sales.
Interesting.
Yeah. Whenever that show airs, even to this day.
Yeah.
Because it's still...
Because they just dropped it.
On YouTube.
Publicly, or
right.
YouTube, yeah.
And we got not a huge spike, but
it still works.
It was one day we showed up at work. This is only maybe a month ago. And you're like, normally, we have, say, 20 online orders, overnight or whatever. And you're like, all of a sudden you show up in the morning and you're like, there's 150?
Huh?
What's
What
going
happened?
on here?
What happened out
Yeah,
there?
you're like, what's wrong with this? So we can see where the click-throughs came from. And so
Right.
like, oh, everybody clicked over to our website from YouTube. And then
Perfect.
you go to YouTube and you're like,
Oh,
oh,
that's what happened.
the show's airing again. But yeah, it's amazing. It's like it just keeps.
And he did a great job because he's just a cool guy.
Yeah.
I could tell he just like connected with you guys.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah, nice man.
Yeah.
So new location, and now how long were you at the new old location?
We were there for 8 years. We had a 5-year lease.
Okay.
And right at the end of that 5-year lease was kind of when, cannabis was becoming legal, and property values on our particular block in the street went through the roof.
Everything went crazy.
And so, our landlord, he decided he was, ready to sell. He's, I think, getting ready to retire kind of. And so he's just trying to
Sure.
unload some stuff. And, when the market's real hot,
That's
that's
what
a great time to sell.
Sell high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We weren't ready to move then, unfortunately.
Yeah.
For
Did you have
him.
a buyer right away?
No, he didn't. He did not have a buyer right away. And he also wasn't going to kick us out, which is the most amazing thing.
That's cool.
He could have said, hey, you're not in a lease anymore. You guys need to get out.
Right.
But he would always check in on us and, how much longer? Because what he wanted to do was to write a little extension in the lease. And so even if he sold, we would still be protected, for a certain amount of time.
What a guy, yeah.
I can't say enough great stuff about Dave Mulhern.
I knew him when he owned Arcata Audio.
Yeah.
Back on the plaza 100 years ago. Yeah.
Anyway, so he so we ended up being there for 8 years, 3 years out of our lease. He kept us in there and charged us through the nose for rent, but
Still. It's more
he
money to
deserves
leave.
it. He deserves it at that point,
And so then the rebuild of the foot of East Street where you're at now, that all's concurrent?
Yes, that
that.
was and I mean that process took us 4 years.
Yeah. That'll age a man.
Yeah, it was painful.
Mm-hmm.
It was real painful, but just the way that things go, Dustin and I aren't the biggest business geniuses, and so you think, okay, it's gonna look this way, and then the reality of things set, and you're like, oh, this is how it's actually gonna
I
look.
think pay you a compliment. The cool thing about you guys is not you guys. I think you have tons of mentors and coaches and
Yeah,
and
I mean,
fans and people that love you guys and supporters and name another word, but that it's been a team thing, and you guys have paid back in spades in terms of to the community.
Oh, yeah.
Jobs
I
and
mean, it definitely has
goodwill and
been a huge network of people that have believed in us. Our wives for one.
let's not forget the wives.
Yeah,
They're right.
But I mean, I think that when Dustin and I in the early stages were like, okay, is this chocolate thing going to work? I think we felt like, okay, well, Humboldt County's got a wonderful, intensely buy local. They support local businesses.
Oh, yeah, we do.
In a way that's just unbelievable. And so I think that that's what gave us the courage to start this thing is we're like, well, if we can just get a booth at the farmer's market, we probably could sell the 25 chocolate bars a week to keep, the rent.
because they want to buy local.
Right.
And if it's
exactly.
amazing, they're going to buy double.
Right. And so that, so it has been our local community and people that want to that want to eat chocolate and talk about it, give it as gifts. They want to take pictures of it when they're overseas or where they happen to find it. We get pictures sent to us of store displays all over the place. But people are oddly proud of it. It's fun I think for people to go, to show up at a chocolate shop in some bougie place in New York City and be like, I know those guys. That comes from my town.
That's pretty cool.
That's my chocolate.
That's where I'm from.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a great point. Yeah, there's a local ownership, which is, I don't know how you market that, how one could market that magic. I mean, I love Los Bagels, but and I'm proud of them, but I can't think of another product. I mean, Joni will pull out a Dick Taylor bar when we're in, I don't know, LA or something. Hey, do you guys want to try some of this? It's like Holy Communion.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll love that. And the first thing, is there any cannabis in it? No, it's not cannabis. Okay, just try it. You got to let it sit there. And so there's always that coach approach. So I'm going to bring this in. So I'm going to ask you 3 things that you're proud of, and then maybe kind of the legacy you want to leave, and we'll wrap here. But so 3 things that you're proud of in your life thus far.
Gosh, I just celebrated 19 years of marriage. So I'm pretty proud of that right now.
Nice.
It was, this last year, I mean, just in all honesty, has been really, really tough. I mean, from Labor Day last year until basically the first week of December, Dustin and I worked 7 days a week.
Crazy.
And long out, into the
Just
evening.
moving everything over and getting it all set up.
Yeah, and Dustin and I needed to do a lot of the finish work in the building because we needed to cut some stuff out of the budget. So the cheapest way to cut it
Labor.
it's the labor. So that meant that Dustin and I, kind of reluctantly, we're going to do a lot of the load of all the finish work.
Sure.
So anyway, that was just like a long push, and it's hard on a family when you're just not around.
It's really
much.
rough.
Yeah.
So recovery time.
Yeah, and so it took us a lot of work to get through that, my wife and I. But I feel like we're on the other side of that.
Nice.
I feel like our marriage is stronger than it's been in
Sweet.
a while. So anyway, that to me, I'm so proud of that.
That's great. That work-life balance and
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I am obviously real proud of the the business that Dustin and I have built. It's I daily I walk through that building and I think, how did I get here?
right.
How is
It's this palace of
how is this
chocolate.
how is this even possible? Like all this equipment, where did it all come from? Where did
magic.
Yeah, it feel when you're in the thick of it all the time, you don't. It's like the frog being boiled in the pot.
Yeah.
Like I don't necessarily feel all like the building of the business because you're
Right.
just like in it.
You're in it all the time.
But if you step back and you're like, yeah, like we were out at Almquist with $100 of countertop grinding equipment. And
Not that long ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not that long ago.
No, it's true. And I think just to see the fruit of your labor has got to be mind-boggling.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's really fun, and and I'm also, gosh, there's lots of things I'm proud of. I'm proud of Eureka. I think that Eureka is poised to do some really, really neat things. Like when I came to Humboldt State, you live in Arcata. Arcata's the cool town. It always feels
Right.
like Eureka's a little bit more of like, the armpit of Humboldt County. I guess that when you live in Arcata,
yeah, you're all
you look
bougie
down
about
your
it.
nose. But
Eureka.
then when I thought about like, well, I want to buy a house, or I want to, where can you afford that? And
Eureka.
Yeah. But and so that was like initially the thing that drove us down here. But I just feel like all of the things that are going on, I feel like the city council's got a pretty forward thinking
Yeah.
vision, and so I'm like proud of our town. I love it when people come up here, and I like to show them around and like show them all the cool stuff that Eureka has got to offer. So I'm proud of that. I'm really proud that I live in Eureka, and that it's it's a place that we're trying to bring up and make really cool
And move forward. Make it ready for our kids, and grandkids.
Yeah.
Which is probably not that far away. For some of us had granddogs till 5 years ago. Now we have 10 grandkids. It's like, what's
Wow.
this stuff happens quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real quick.
No, I love it. And yeah, thanks for sharing that. So what this makes perfect segue. So what do you see for Humboldt's future? What would you like to see? What do you think the needs are, the strengths, and just maybe briefly what you would want to, if you could wave the magic chocolate wand and fix it, what do you see for Humboldt and Eureka?
I don't know. I mean, I always say this. I think that, Humboldt County, I think, is like really, it's just such a unique place, and part of it is our isolation, so that's something that makes us unique. We're like 5 hours north of San Francisco. And, we get a lot of chocolate folks come in to visit, or different suppliers, whatever. And they're like, well, yeah, we're in San Francisco. We're going to come up to visit. And I'm like, okay.
You're only a couple hours, right?
Yeah, right. So,
Yeah, no.
so the isolation, I think, or our remoteness kind of drives part of that. But then, we got the university here, and that is always this influx of like new, fresh, creative energy, right? And so I feel like, Humboldt County, it's like if you take really creative people with a really like intensely can-do spirit, like we're out here behind the redwood curtain. So you got to make it yourself or find it yourself. So I think when you combine can-do people with creativity, then you get the people that live in Humboldt County.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When I think of like Yakima starting here, Kokatat still here, big, water business. Lacey's Cookies. I mean,
He's been around for a while.
they make a giant amount of cookies here that go all across the
Right.
U.S. Cypress Grove, obviously. So it's like there's just this like history of people are like, well, I want to stay in Humboldt County, so how can I use my
How could I do it?
how can I do it? You know,
Yeah.
so we do it ourselves. We make it ourselves.
gonna make it, yeah.
figure it out ourselves. So I think that's just something that like I see time and time again. And obviously, I'm kind of in this like business entrepreneurial segment of the population, but it's just something that you see like time and time again. And so I just really hope that that's kind of where Humboldt can really kind of like land as this place of like intense creativity and kind of this hotbed for, wow, I can't believe that came out of there.
Wow. They make these new bikes in Humboldt. They're really great. Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah.
And certainly, I mean, I think that there's a lot of talk about the wind generation aspect of things. I mean, it just seems like for so long, Humboldt's been really in a resource extraction type of economy. We had fishing, and that's kind of like largely failed. Timber has largely failed. Cannabis
is largely failing.
So it's like we've always been we've moved from like one resource extraction like kind of thing, and so I'm like there's other industry that seems to be springing up that hopefully is like a little more sustainable, a little more like long term, and
and
so,
I think we're doing that.
Yeah,
Pittsburgh really didn't do that with steel after that, or Detroit after cars were gone. So it's kind of. Hopefully, we won't be a rust belt, as it were.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think that we will, or I'm confident that it won't be like that. I think that there's enough uniqueness and
there's a can-do thing that is a spirit that's alive and well. I like it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your legacy, and then we'll wrap up. What would you see as your legacy? What are they going to say about you at the service at the Adorney?
Oh man!
What would you like them to say? What do you think they?
I don't know. It's funny because I do think about this sometimes. I'm like, when I die, will anybody show up at the?
Of course they will. Come on. Yes, there'll be 20 or 30 people.
Yeah, exactly. A handful. I would just love to. I would like to be, seen as somebody that made a positive impact on, on the community. Somebody that was, like a team player, somebody that always worked towards moving the dialogue forward, pushing growth in a responsible and sustainable way. I don't know. I mean, of course you're like, I'd like to be known for like making great chocolate, but I just want people to be like, he was just a nice guy. He was down to earth. He was level-headed. He was reasonable.
He's a good family guy. He was a dad and
husband. It's like, I guess on the one hand, you're like, I just want to be like, normal.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
That's good. I like that. What is it going to say on your tombstone? Got a phrase? I'll let you think about it while I cry.
Yeah, I don't know if I have
I
need like a life phrase.
So a couple funny ones that have come forward. That's all, folks. Another one was, what did Linda Cooley say? She tried. I like that. It's like, gave it a go.
Yeah, gave it your best shot. I don't know if I have an answer for you on that, but that's something that I'll probably think about that all night long.
Yeah, think about that. I should have said that one thing. Now I've got it, but we'll edit it in later.
Punch my voice.
Somebody said, I don't have anything because I'm going to be buried under a tree in the backyard. No tombstone. I go, that's a good answer. Yeah. So, it wouldn't be. We couldn't tie it off without talking about Huck Flint for a minute. Just the band, you guys are stellar in the community, and I think you brought your mandolin, right?
I did.
Do you want to hold it while I ask a Huck Flint question, just for like 30 seconds, and we'll tie it off. What I was thinking is that you could do another hour on the mandolin as we sign off,
right?
So
here, this is my current axe. I've got a couple mandolins that I play.
Weber.
Yeah, this is a Weber Bitterroot.
That's older, right?
This actually isn't super old. This mandolin I think is from dated in here. No, I have a serial number and not a date.
Huh. Beautiful.
But it's a Bend, Oregon Weber. They've moved around a little bit.
Okay.
And it's signed by Bruce Weber as well.
Made in Bend.
Yeah.
Nice. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's great. This mandolin, when we played, sorry, I should talk into the microphone.
There you go.
When we played at the Arkley Center, it was like probably our first like big-ish gig, And
Was it a Christmas show or?
It was our Christmas show, yeah.
Okay.
We had played a few weddings earlier that year, so I finally had enough money to buy this mandolin. So this mandolin, all the money to buy this came from playing the mandolin.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway.
So real quick, 1 minute, 2 minutes on the band. How did the band come together? What's your trajectory? It's almost unfair, but we got to bring it up because it's part of who you guys are.
Yeah, so we started. I mean, basically, 2008 or it was before. It predates the chocolate business.
Okay.
And like I said, I went to high school and middle school in Kansas City, and my mom's always been into like bluegrass. She was when we lived in Tahoe, she had a clogging company called the Tahoe Truckee Clogging Company, and they would
Clogging.
Yeah, they'd clog at like rodeos and different
That's
events.
with the wood shoes and doing the whole thing.
Not wood shoes; they're like tap shoes.
Okay.
But they, the guys, her and her like brother, a couple brothers and some sisters were in this Tahoe Truckee Clogging Company. They had their like little overall outfits and
Nice.
whatnot. So always been around kind of, bluegrassy type music. And so in high school, we started going to this thing called the Walnut Valley Festival. It's in Winfield, Kansas. And they have a 4-day annual bluegrass festival there. They also hold the national like flat pick championships and the mandolin championships and fields. There's all like really great musicians. I watched Chris Thiele win the national mandolin championship at Winfield when he was
young,
10,
Wow.
maybe. I mean, he was just this like tiny little,
he's the
pudgy
guy
kid.
now, right?
Yeah, now he's,
Who's the other guy? Marty Stewart.
Oh, there's a lot of good.
He's bigger though. Would those guys come to a show like that or to that venue?
No, they're a little bit big for that.
Yeah.
But Nickel Creek Played at Winfield when they were all like 14. They were all little kids. The Watkins and Chris Thiele, they were all.
Who's the Newgrass? Sam Bush?
Yes.
Would Sam come to a show like that?
No.
Okay.
A little bit too big.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so we went to Walnut Valley Festival, a lot of years, and there was a band one year called the Wilders. They're from Kansas City. They're not together anymore. And that was another thing, like watching these brothers play or make chocolate. I was like, the Wilders were insane.
Really good.
They all played around one microphone, and it was like, it just seemed like a V8 engine running when they were playing, and it was just like the heads going up and down like the pistons of the engine. I mean, it was raw, and
Nice.
I was like, this is amazing. And so I came back one year, the first year that I saw the Wilders, and I was like, Dustin, we need to do this. We could do this. They weren't amazing musicians, like they weren't just all flashy on their instruments,
Right.
but the amount of energy and what they could captivate on stage was unreal.
Yeah.
So, Dustin and I started fiddling around or noodling around, and his sister-in-law, Mary Beth, played the violin. And so we kind of started this like little trio thing, and we would play down at, Arts Alive in Old Town in front of Eureka Books, and
Wow.
brought on a bass player, and,
Was that Ray at that point or?
no, it was not Ray at that point. It was a guy, Nick Hoffman.
Okay.
Yep. And so Nick played bass for a long time. And, we just kind of did whatever we could, played mostly for free, little fundraising events or whatever. And it just kind of been always this thing that's just been in the background
Yeah.
the whole time.
Part of that creative outlet to the whole deal.
And then Mary Beth moved away, and so we didn't have a fiddle player anymore, and we brought on a couple, a guy and a girl, and he played electric guitar, and she played keyboard. That was Brian Pilger, and it was Lauren Hoffman, but now they're married. So, and so that was kind of when we started kind of more down the road that we're on now, a little more electric kind of rock vibe. And then they moved away, and we brought on another guitar player.
He's great.
Yeah, he is very, very good. And then Dustin's sister-in-law now is in the band, and her name's Evangela. She's
wonderful.
Yeah, sings, got a great voice, and she plays keyboards too. So
Yeah.
that's kind of, the thing. And it's amazing that the band now predates my wedding, my
Wow.
marriage. And I'm almost getting to the point probably in a few more years where I'll spent more time in my life playing in the band than not playing in the band. It's weird when you start to enter your 40s and
My
you
other
started,
family.
Yeah, and you started things in your 20s. You're like, man, I'm like
been around with these guys.
Half of my lifetime with these guys.
Yeah. So my experience with the band is that we'd always heard, hey, got to go see these guys, Huckleberry Flint. You got to check them out. They're great. But they never play. Oh,
Yeah.
Well, they play at Christmas and they play at the Arcade
Yeah.
Playhouse. And finally, it was 17 or 18, we saw you guys at Humboldt Folk Life in Blue Lake,
Oh, yeah.
where we saw Mary Beth 2 weeks ago,
Yep.
first time. And I don't know what happened at that show, but there's something that energy from Kansas came. It was like, whoom. And I'm
Yeah.
going, this is, I mean, Russ has got this thing dialed in or something's
Yeah.
happening.
The sound guy was good, really good. And
is there better shows I mean, I don't know if you can rank them, but was that a feel good show for y'all?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't remember that. Like, 'cause we've played that show there for a lot of years.
Mm-hmm.
Don't totally remember that year.
Patrick?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's just this last one this year. 2 weeks ago.
Oh, that the
in Blue
energy
Lake.
was so good.
Yeah, in Blue Lake.
Oh,
Folk Life.
you're saying we're getting better.
Yeah, I inferred it and implied it.
No, that show was. I'm just teasing you. That show was really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been doing it now for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and the cool part about doing something for a long time is you don't get as nervous about doing it,
Right.
anymore because you're
Right.
like I'm familiar with.
I'm a
it.
natural podcast host.
Totally.
Hello.
You're
Hey.
killing this. So
There's Nick, and thank you
Right.
for being here.
So-
no, you're right.
it becomes more fun though because you're initially you're probably like I don't know what to say or how do I
gonna be weird. Yeah, I'm
but
gonna make it weird.
Right, but once you've done it enough, then you're like, oh, this is just fun. You get to hang out with somebody. So for
great.
us, we get to, we are performing, and so you do get nervous, but
Sure.
at the same time, everybody just wants to have a good time. I want to have a good time too.
man.
So you're like, if everybody just wants to have fun, then it's not super pressure filled,
Right. It becomes a joy.
Yeah,
The joy factor.
that's the That's the hope.
And Russ he's the sound man for Bruce Coburn, and
Yeah,
he's the dude, right?
He's beyond the dude.
He's the seventh band member.
Yeah.
Dustin called him.
Yeah,
at some
Russ
point.
Cole he's really amazing.
nice man, too.
Yeah, and he's he has done so many shows at Center Arts. I mean, he's incredibly talented, and he's one of
Yeah.
those people that he's beyond Humboldt County in his abilities, but
Yeah.
he's still here doing it. And
He's an example of a lot of things you're talking about. Somebody that can do and
Yeah.
is magical and gifted and all those words.
yeah.
So any parting shots before we go?
No, just like super thankful that you'd have me, and it's
Yeah.
great to connect and really just chat. I feel like we've just been mainly hanging out for an hour now and
Yeah.
shooting the breeze, which
Yeah, I
is
know.
really, really great.
Appreciate you a lot coming in and dicktaylorchocolates.com
Yep.
and Huckleberry Flint
There's probably not a .com there. You'd have to find us, I think, Huckleberry Flint Band on Instagram.
or an Amazon or
Yeah.
or Siri or somebody's got you.
Yeah, I mean, you can find our like albums. We have a couple.
Alexa, play Huckleberry Flint.
and that will happen.
It's weird. There's a whole catalog. It's actually 20 years.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks, Adam. Appreciate you.
Thank you.